Neacsu at Real Talks, and before the next episode starts, just want to give an answer to a lot of people who are asking me, what software do I use to uh, to create my podcast? And the platform that I use is Anchor.fm. It's absolutely free. It has a huge reach, so it'll actually reach out to Apple, it'll reach out to Google, and it'll reach out to Spotify and other platforms. So those platforms pick up your podcast, so you have maximum exposure to anybody who is interested in listening to your podcast. As well, if you're absolutely lucky, there will be companies that will reach out to you and might want to sponsor your podcast. You might get paid for something that you love to do. So if you are interested in starting your own podcast, download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. And here we go to the next episode, and thank you for your time. Welcome to Real Talks, the Realtor Life. This is where we talk to real agents about their story and their journey in real estate. We'll discuss their beginnings, their struggles, and their ultimate successes. We peel back the layers and deliver a behind-the-scenes conversation that you, the listener, can find inspiration. My name is Neacsu. My intention is to share the authentic realtor life. Hey guys, this is Neacsu with Real Talks. This is episode 6, and I'm here with Eric Christiansen. You probably know who he is if you're in the Vancouver market, or you see his signs everywhere. Very successful realtor in Vancouver. Most likely, he's actually a legend, and it's a pleasure to have him on the show. Hey, Eric.
Hey, Nick. How are you?
I am fantastic. Thank you.
Legend makes me sound old already.
You're a young legend.
That sounds better.
Yeah, that's right. So, Eric, I know a little bit about your story. You've told me a little bit. When I was struggling, I was able to approach Eric, and he just said, just keep working hard, because if you work hard, good things will happen. But, Eric, tell us about where you're at right now, and we'll talk about the beginnings in a little bit.
I'll go back to that working hard thing. That drove me nuts when I first started, because I used to have Malcolm and Alan just say, keep working hard. And I was like, what the heck does keep working hard mean? Thanks for the help.
Yeah.
So I know now that I'm in the business for a long time, 28 years, and guys like Nick come up to me and say, what do you do? And I say, keep working hard. It must frustrate them sometimes in getting the secret guide to what's going on.
It is like everybody wants that. I guess it's that get rich quick solution. Like, what do we need to do? Is it mailers? Is it open houses? Is it door knocking? And at the end of the day, it's everything.
Well, and there's this false sense out there too. People see the successful realtors driving around West Van in nice cars and wearing nice clothes, and they think, oh yeah, you just become a realtor and you make a bunch of money and have nice stuff. But it is a very long road and a lot of hard work.
Yeah, absolutely. So, so tell us about your business. I mean, you're over $2.5 billion in sales now.
It's been fantastic. So I've been a realtor for 28 years. Typically we sell between 70 and 100 houses a year. And being in West Van and the price of the homes, it's been a very, very good business. I'm very thankful to have been so successful in this. Yeah, it's amazing when we look at the listings that you have and the sales that you make. It's pretty inspirational. We want to get there. Oh, you guys are well on your way. You're way ahead of I was when I've only been in the business for a few years. So
yeah,
it's impressive.
Appreciate it. Thank you. So segueing on from that, tell us about the beginning, because that people look at you. You obviously you love your cars. You have a beautiful family. It's like you're like the staple person of success in this business. But it didn't start like that.
It was tough. I almost quit the business after being in the business for a year and a half, and a lot of people don't know that. Some of my good friends know. So I started way back. I will go back to 1998. 1988. I was a graduate from high school. Went to Cap College. Thought I was going to play basketball for a career, like every young kid dreaming that's an athlete. After a year and a half, I realized that wasn't going to happen. Partly because I probably had too much fun at the Cap College at the time when I was 18. So good thing did come out of Cap College. I met my wife, so I started dating when we were 18 years old. So I went and worked for a company called Kal-El Sales, which was a manufacturer's rep, like anywhere from hair barrettes to Weber barbecues and everything in between. And sold more than anybody else had ever hired before. They used to hire 35-year-old people, and I was only 18, 19 years old, 20 years old, I guess, at the time. And one of them told me I should take my real estate course, and so that was the beginning.
Oh, wow.
Took my course. I can't remember, I got 85%, which is probably the highest grade I ever got in any kind of schooling. because I was interested in it.
Yeah.
It started working 2 years in, like floundering, not a whole lot going on. My first meeting on May 1990, I goes the guy named Max Finney, who's a legend in real estate as well back in the day. He announced that it was the slowest May ever in the history of the real estate board for West Vancouver. And I was sitting there going, what am I doing? What have I done?
Right.
But I think from those sort of overcoming that adversity at the beginning, it made a huge difference to my career going forward.
Right.
And especially having had that early and now a market like we're in now, it's a huge benefit.
Oh, absolutely.
To have learned that. So 18 months, 2 years in, wasn't going to work. Love cars. Went and applied at a few car dealerships for a job. Luckily, BMW, Ford, Mercedes, they all turned me down. They said, sorry, you're too young. We don't want to hire you. So thought, okay, I guess I got to go back to real estate. Thank God for my mom who helped fund me for the first, 3.5, 4 years while I was building the business. At that point, sat down with a friend of my mother-in-law's who used to train at Western Realty.
Okay.
She gave me a few cassette tapes, which I still have as, mementos of what happened.
Right.
And one was overcoming discouragement and one was setting goals.
And this was by?
One was Napoleon Hill.
Okay.
Think and Grow Rich. And that's basically the mindset of you got to picture what you want to be before you can be it. And I don't remember who the author was of the Overcoming Discouragement was, but I played these tapes so much you could barely hear them anymore. Like,
wow.
Every time I lost on a presentation, like in goes the tape.
Right. So you were just keeping your state of mind very sharp and positive, and it will eventually stick.
Yeah.
You have to go through so many downs to feel the bottom. So now you know where it is to calibrate yourself. Then you can go up, because I don't think you can have success without failure. It doesn't work.
You have to. You screw up so many times. A friend of mine was doing a speech in front of 300 kids at West Van High yesterday, and he said, excuse my language, I fucked up so many times to get where I am today. And you learn from that.
Right.
It's true, right?
So you were 22 at that point?
Yeah, 23 probably. 20, almost 24 at that point.
24
I started when I was 22, May 1990.
Right.
And by the time I was 24 was when I was almost quitting, and then I just started building from there. And then another thing, a lot of you might know John Jennings.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Awesome guy. Started working with him. Him and I sat in the same office, and he'd see me. I knew the stats on every house and every sale and all the I knew inside and out of every house. Went on tour all the time. He's like, yeah, that's great. They have all the information, but it's completely useless unless you start phoning people. So I'm like, hey, well, that's a very good point. So then I started cold calling, and he sat there going, how do you feel when you get a phone call at home at 7 at night from someone completely out of the blue for no reason? I'm like, well, it irritates me, and I hang up. So he says, well, he warm calls, which is a term that everyone uses. He said, just start phoning everyone you know every time a house comes up for sale. Like, just tips like that.
Right.
And then that stuff starts snowballing.
Right.
And because I really did hate cold calling, because as much as I've overcome rejection and people not liking me or getting angry because you phone, I started sending flyers. And I was one of the first guys, 25 years ago to start sending flyers. And I used to send them to every time I did a sale, every time I had a listing.
Right.
Until it got to the point where, I was selling 10 houses a month when people were starting saying, I'm getting too many of your flyers. So then I started sending one out every 5 sales or every 10 sales.
Right. So you're creating habits, like really good habits and discipline.
Well, on the flyer thing, I got the idea of that because my mom lived in North Van.
Yeah.
And she used to get flyers from Tony Rossetti. And he was one of the first guys that did it back then in North Van. And so I started doing it in West Van. And that was one of my marketing things. And again, not expensive. I know the new marketing is a lot of huge cost, buses and all that sort of stuff, which is making you guys extremely successful. I didn't have the funds to do that, so
neither did we. We just had line of credits.
Line of credit.
The bank's money. Yeah.
Line of credit well spent.
Yeah.
So that's, it just started building from there. And for me, I worked like a dog. I'd get up at 7 in the morning and then not stop working until 11 at night. And had no help, and a huge problem with delegating. And so I did that for 20 years.
Wow.
Just doing it all myself.
All yourself, no assistant for 20 years?
In 2003, I sold 107 houses, I think, and the only person helping me was my father-in-law with a few showings. And I did everything else myself: paperwork, listings, loading photos on my ads, everything. It was insanity.
That is insanity.
Yeah.
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 It's hard to delegate, especially when you built something up from scratch.
Yeah.
And blood, sweat, and tears allow somebody in that world that could potentially mess it up.
Exactly.
It's like we have the same issue. It's hard to let people into your world, right?
Well, you guys have put a great team together, so I'm sure there's not too many mistakes.
Yeah. People always make mistakes. Just don't make the mistake twice.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. So you're sending out flyers. This is sort of year 4 or 5.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then it started snowballing from there. But you weren't making 100 were you making 107 sales within 5 years?
No, it started off, again, back then, the first year, I've been Medallion Club, I think, for 21 years now. So it took me 7 years to make Medallion. And back then, I think I needed 18 MLS points to make Medallion.
Right.
Whereas I don't know what it is today, like 27 or something. Or
21, 22, okay. Yeah.
So, there was no turning back. John and I were doing a lot of stuff together, and I think we both made Medallion the first time together.
Right.
And ever since then, I've just made Medallion. Because I think once you get to that goal, that carrot's always there, and you just keep working till you get there.
Right. So was John your mentor?
John was my mentor for sure. Yeah.
So you seek, and John was very successful at the time as well.
He was for a new guy, because he started a few years. I think like 3 or 4 years before me, and his dad was in the business before him.
Right.
So I think he learned some things from his dad, and then just sort of took it to a new level.
Right.
And then guys like Al Sutton and North Van, like massive amount of business and great reputation. Right. That was the key for me, was sell a lot of houses, but have people still like you.
That's a fine balance, right? You have to do business well and respectfully, because they're all about cooperation, more so now than ever. So,
and even with your clients, like, again, one of the things that I find is every realtor that phones to show one of my listings says you're the first one that calls back all the time. So, so cooperating with the other agents and doing everything you can to put a deal together for your client and their client, because that makes success for everyone. It's so important.
It is, absolutely. It's and obviously you're passionate about the business. You still are. You're always at the office. And
you couldn't do this business if you didn't like it. There's too many negative things and things that go wrong as far as being let down and disappointments, that if you didn't love the business, you couldn't do it.
Oh, I completely agree with that. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyone that's doing it just for the money won't be very successful for very long.
Yeah, they won't find the money.
No,
not at all.
Yeah.
So you were at about year 5, year 6, year 7 year 7 really when the turning point happened. And do you remember anything in that turning point where that was like the aha moment, or was it just all that hard work started to pay off?
Well, the aha was when I hit that 17 or 18 MLS points to make Medallion on like December the 15th. I was like jumping up and down in the office. It was a huge moment. But the real aha moment happened. A lawyer named Richard Golliboff. I think I was probably in year 10 or 12 when I started getting to the point where I made President's Club. Mm-hmm. He said to me, "You're at a point now where people are going to start phoning you." And I'm like, "I know I'm phoning people all the time still." But literally within a year, it went from me phoning people all the time to suddenly people phoning me. And it's just like, that was that aha moment. Like, wow, I've gotten there now where people want to speak to me. I don't have to phone them.
That's a place. That's a huge place.
I don't know if you've Malcolm Gladwell wrote
the tipping point. Yeah, the tipping point.
Awesome book.
Yeah.
And that was my tipping point. It was just like all of a sudden it went from me, begging and hoping someone's going to work with me to people phoning me saying, "Hey, will you work with me?" And it was cool.
And that was year 10, 11, 12
I think, I'm trying to remember when I made President's Club, but probably like 15, 10, 11, 12.
Wow. So again, people, as a realtor, that's the magic tipping point. Huge. For everybody who's very, very successful, is now you don't have to prospect as much because your name's so far out there. And what do you think, aside from the sales, I've seen you around West Vancouver and you know everybody. You're shaking their hands, you're talking. Your wife is out there saying, "Oh, Eric's talking to this guy again at Hollyburn or whatnot."
Yeah, it's a great thing. I mean, I love hanging around with people. I love talking to people. So it's great. Again, you couldn't do this business if you didn't like talking to people.
Right. But you always talk shop. People talk shop about you a lot. Yeah.
Close friends know that they don't always talk shop, but most acquaintances, they want to talk shop.
They want to talk shop.
Especially in the last 10 years when the market was going crazy, they want to talk shop, and now that it's slowing down, they want to talk shop.
Yeah.
In a flat, normal market, nobody really talks that much about real estate.
Right.
It's just when it's in the press as much as it is, it's pretty significant, and people do want to talk about it.
Right. So there's some major takeaways I'm getting here. One is you got to work your butt off.
Yeah.
Right. and you have to work smart. So you were the one that basically, developed all the knowledge in the market, and you had all this knowledge that you had built in your head, but you had to take action in order to get that business. You had to tell 100%. People about it. I mean, you could be the smartest person in the world, but nobody knows about it.
Well, if you don't have that guidance, that for me was huge. What John did and sort of put me in the right direction, because I used to paint, like when we were at Bell Realty when it first started. Yeah, I used to paint the office to pay my office bill.
Wow.
Yeah.
You painted the office to pay for your fees.
Yeah. That's the kind of stuff I did just to. Hey, my desk fee is whatever a month, or my bill was built up to $1,000. I'm like, hey, I'll paint the bullpen. Yeah. Cover the $1,000.
So you were all in.
Always working. It didn't matter.
You were all in.
I was washing and vacuuming some of the top realtors' cars to make extra money. Yeah. So.
That's pretty cool. Yeah. That's pretty cool. If you ever need your car washed.
Wanted to get the guy. There was a car wash here behind. It's where there's a car wash now again, and the guy. Actually, it's right around the corner where some friends of mine are kind of a car collection store. But the guy phoned me one day and said, "Hey, you got to stop washing these guys' cars because I'm the one that normally does their cars."
So you're putting them out of business.
So it's funny.
That is really, really funny. So with Bell Realty, then you followed Bell Realty into Angel Hasman and Associates.
Had a brief moment at Sussex.
No kidding.
Nobody really. It was only for 8 months. I got in a bit of an argument with a realtor at Bell Realty that's not a realtor anymore, just because he was a guy that we didn't see eye to eye on morals and things like that. So they got a big fight. I left, said I'm out of here. Alan called me to come back. They opened an office in Caulfield. I was new and young in the business, loved Caulfield already, even though I didn't live there. So that was sort of the carrot to come back to Angel Hasman, because at that point, actually, I guess it was still Bell Realty. It hadn't become Angel Hasman yet.
So I'm curious now, you should always work in where you want to live, right? Do you agree?
100%.
Where did you live before Caulfield? Because you now have a beautiful house. You have the dream house in Caulfield.
My wife and I rented an apartment at Park Royal Towers, those 3 towers at Park Royal.
Right.
She had to pay the rent every other month or every third month because I didn't have enough money to pay the rent.
Mm-hmm.
Still drove a BMW 5 Series, but couldn't afford the rent. And from there we bought a little half duplex in Glenmore, lived there for 3 years, bought it and sold it for the same price. Market didn't go up at all.
Mm-hmm.
Then bought a little house in Caulfield on Sprucefield,
mm-hmm.
did a small reno. And an opportunity came up where I could buy the lot where I built my house now. We've been there for 14 years.
Holy cow.
Yeah. And we love it. And we raised our kids on a cul-de-sac. I couldn't think of it anymore.
No. Yeah, you have 3 beautiful children.
Two kids.
2 kids. Two kids. 2 kids.
Yeah.
Sorry, 2 beautiful, and beautiful wife.
Yeah, thank you. I know. I'm very fortunate.
And how many beautiful pieces of machinery?
Yeah, lots of cars. The cars are a bit of a problem, but I tend to try to pick the right cars. So I've got this little car world that is my hobby.
So you have so that's why you're at work all the time.
Exactly. I had a picture of, even now, the latest car I've got, I had a picture of it on my screensaver on my computer.
So look at all these takeaways here. You have a vision board.
100%.
Right from the beginning.
I used to set goals, and all my friends when I was in my 20s used to bug me because it was written on my mirror what I had to do every day.
Right.
And just seeing it every time you looked at yourself when you're shaving in the morning. I had daily goals, and actually one thing that Alan taught me was a 10-point day. Sort of, those are the things you have to do every day. And one of them would be like make 10 warm calls, check all the new listings, like just basic stuff you had to do every day.
Yeah.
And then I had a weekly goal, monthly goal, annual goal. And I still have it on my phone. Every year I put an annual goal together.
Yeah.
It's not broken down to daily anymore because I've got the routine down by now.
Right. Now it's automatic, right?
Exactly.
That is...
writing stuff on your mirror, I had a picture of every car I ever wanted next. When I was driving my old 1990 Jetta, I had a picture of a 5 Series BMW in the mirror.
Right.
And when I was driving my 5 Series BMW, I had a picture of my 840 BMW in the mirror.
Yeah.
Right? So I would just flip it down every day when I got in the car, look at it, and then just work to achieve it.
And when you achieved it, you just set higher goals, right? You don't ever settle.
No, not a chance. Yeah.
So do you here's an interesting question like we'd like to ask. Well, first of all, what are your aspirations first? Because you're 28.
Yeah.
And you're super young compared to like the people who have reached your success in the business. You've reached it much quicker than they have. What are your aspirations now in the business? What do you want?
I love the business. So I mean, again, I could keep going for another 20 years, but my hope is that at some point I can train one of my kids to take over.
Yeah.
Either that or get a few young guys that are the kind of people that have the same mindset as me that I can trust with my name to take over with clients.
Yeah.
Because for me, if you don't have the trust of your clients and the cooperation of the other realtors, you can't do this business. It's just not possible.
Right.
And so I don't want to just have someone come in and say, "Hey, I'll buy your book off you when you retire," and then just make the name mud. Like, it has to be someone that's on the same path.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
So I, whether I work another 5 years or 10 years, I don't know. I enjoy it.
It's just fun.
Yeah, I love it.
It's just part of your life.
Yeah.
And people talk about in this business that it's hard to achieve a work-life balance. But you have a beautiful family, and you're always going to the hockey games, and you're doing everything that dad should be doing. So how do you?
Well, that changed. That was a girl named Crystal Meads. Thank goodness for her. She worked for another realtor in West Van. Ended up working for a huge realtor. I can't remember his name on the top of my head right now, in Vancouver West Side for a few years. So she was a well-trained assistant. And she phoned me up one day and said, "Hey, look, I met you a couple of times when I worked in West Van. Can I come and work for you?" And I said, "No, I don't delegate well. It's not going to work." So anyway, she phoned back a couple of days later. "Come on, let me just come in for 1 day a week."
Mm-hmm.
And I said, "Okay, sure." So she came in for 1 day a week, and like that quickly became 2, 3, 5 days a week.
Right.
And she was awesome. Like, she's actually a realtor on Langley now and doing extremely well. And after working with me for 3 years, she phoned me and said, "Hey, look, I've got another kid on the way. I need a bigger place. Can't afford it on the North Shore." So she went to Langley, and that's why she ended up moving on. But
Wow.
I found Sam.
Right.
Through my mother-in-law, because I sold Sam's house, and Sam, 5 years earlier had said, "Hey, if you ever need an assistant, let me know." And Tracy's mom remembered that. And you know what? I wouldn't have the lifestyle I have if I didn't have Crystal and Sam helping out.
Do you find that your quality of life has increased tremendously with the assistant?
Massive. Yeah, life-changing.
Life-changing.
Absolutely life-changing. I mean, instead of sitting at my computer, so basically now all the work that Sam does during the day for 8 hours a day, I would do either at 7 in the morning or at 6 at night.
Right.
And so it just, you're working from 7 till 9 before you can call people. And then you're working from 10 at 8 till 2 in the morning doing paperwork.
Wow.
So, yeah.
Taking notes here. This is how it's supposed to be done.
It's a pretty simple game. Yeah.
It's a simple game. That's right. It's easy.
Keep telling my son that with hockey. Son, it's a simple game.
Yeah, and real quick, because we were just talking about before we started the podcast. I mean, you light up when you talk about your son and his success in hockey.
Oh, that's great.
What's he doing right now?
He plays for the Everett Silvertips, and he's at the Calgary Flames, trying out for the Flames right now.
Yeah. Something really cool that I remember my first year of real estate when I was visiting open houses, agents' opens, and I was at your agent's open on your street that you live on, and your son runs into the agent's open with a cup of coffee.
Yeah.
I thought that was the coolest thing ever. Young assistant. Yeah, just here you go, Dad, and back. And now he's playing pro hockey.
Yeah, and my 21-year-old daughter, she's a model. She's actually taking a real estate course as well, which is exciting. And she's might be going back to Hong Kong for a few months for modeling. Where she just rocked it the last time.
So you're just
cool.
creating.
I'm a lucky guy.
Yeah. You definitely are. So, what would be a single piece of advice that you would give your younger self on day one when starting in this business?
Well, so day one, I would have told myself what John told me after 2 years is call people. You have to phone people.
Right.
A guy, again, Max Finney, amazing guy. Taught me a lot when I was younger, and he passed away, unfortunately. He said, "Don't say anything you wouldn't say in front of your client to anyone."
Mm-hmm.
Right. So if you have a listing, if you can't go and say, "Oh, they'll take this price." If you can't say what you're going to say in front of your client, don't say it, because you shouldn't be saying it.
Right.
Right. And that's a big thing now with the conflict, all the new conflict rules that we have. If you don't say stuff that you can't say in front of your client, you'll never get in trouble.
So that's a really good sort of litmus test on your ethics.
Yeah, because I'll go show a house, and the realtor will say, "Oh, they'll do this, this, and this," and I'm like, if your client heard you saying that, they'd probably crucify you.
We hear that all the time.
All the time.
Yeah.
Like, and I will not say that. Like, if I'm not comfortable saying it in front of my client, I'm not going to say it anyway.
And do you ever think about the money when you're doing a deal? Or
Never.
Never.
You can ask Debbie. I've never ever calculated a commission. I go do an evaluation on a cheaper home, like something around $1 million or under $1 million, and they'll say, "Oh, you only sell big stuff." I'm like, "No, I don't." And they say, "Well, you don't work as hard on mine." I'll work as hard on a $2 million condo as I will on a $15 million house.
Yeah.
It makes absolutely no difference to me what I'm getting paid.
And that's a part of the big success. We think the same way. That's the way you have to do it, or else you're going to put your own interest in front of your clients, and it's...
Well, it's like, I'll have a showing where, I've committed to being at an agent's open at a $1.3 million apartment for a nice older client of mine, and I'll get a showing request at a $10 million house, and I'll say, my assistant, who's very qualified, will be there for the showing. I have to do the agent's open. I've committed to it.
Right.
I can't just put something else ahead, and vice versa.
Yeah,
if
exactly.
I committed to being at the $10 million house, someone else has to sit the showing for the cheaper house. It's the right way to do it.
I completely agree. And I don't want to end the podcast. I have Eric's attention right here. But is there anything else that you want to say to? We have a lot of young realtors that listen, and they're looking for just bits of information. Is there anything else? Any pieces of gold or nuggets that you would want to?
Well, I'll say what Malcolm and Alan told me. You just got to work hard.
So just work hard, yeah.
And you know what it is? It sounds horrible to say that because you say, well, what does that mean? I was like, what does work hard mean? But you do. You have to work hard. You have to create your own luck.
Yeah.
And do the right things. Phone people. Be friendly, and like any time, like no matter what, you're always. It's part of being a bit of a looking glass because you have to be polite all the time. I judge people by how they treat their garbage man or the waiter.
Right.
Some guy that could have $1 billion but down talks the waiter or the garbage man. I mean, that guy to me is garbage, right?
Right.
You have to treat everybody the same.
Right.
Whether they're a billionaire or the garbage man.
So
live your life like that. Especially if you're trying to be a realtor on West Van or Vancouver West Side, anyone sees you doing something stupid, you might lose business.
They're going to talk about it.
Yeah, they are.
Yeah.
I mean, I lost a listing once because I was driving like a moron down the highway and someone cut me off and I gave them a finger when I was younger. Well, it turned out that their friend was going to try to get me the listing, and they said, screw it, I'm not going to give that guy the listing. He gave me the finger. And so I lost the listing because I was being a stupid 25-year-old.
Right.
Right? So you just can't do it.
So always just live a high moral life and 100%. Treat everybody good and work hard, always learn.
And get married and have children. A good friend of mine that I did some investing with when I was younger said, as soon as you get engaged, your income will double. And then I was like, okay, that's kind of weird. So I got engaged and my income doubled. And he said, just wait, when you have kids now, your income's going to double again. And so he was bang on. He was right. It just gives you purpose.
Right.
And speaking of that, DJ, I hope you're going to listen to this. And congratulations on being married. It's exciting. I saw the play-by-play from Nick on the wedding. It was awesome.
Yeah, well, I'm excited too. If that's the case, then his income's going to double.
Perfect.
Yeah.
yours comes along with it.
That's right.
Yeah,